everyone, it is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. And today's video is super exciting because it is a part of my advice from a graduated college student series. And so today we are going to be talking to my friend Kenny, who is going to law school in the fall. So we'll be going over LSAT advice as well as law school admissions advice. So if you have any other videos that you want to see as a part of this series, definitely leave a comment down below and make sure you subscribe if you want to see more content. And I post every Sunday and Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, so check back then. But without further ado, let's get started. Awesome. What is up, everyone? We are in Zoom world right now. Hopefully this records correctly, but I am with Kenny. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Kenny. I was in the video with Rachel about legal studies advice at Berkeley. I am a friend of Rachel's and both of us just graduated from UC Berkeley. Currently in California right now, just enjoying the summer before law school and have some time to hopefully give some good advice and kind of share my journey, I guess, to help you.
Yeah, so this is super exciting because Kenny is going to law school in the fall. I am currently restudying to take the LSAT. So today we're going to learn a lot from Kenny, and we will also have the playlist of other LSAT videos linked down below, so you should totally check that out if you want more LSAT related information or advice. But I think a big question that people had for you, Kenny, from the other day in the life video was what law school you are attending in the fall.
All right, yeah, great. I didn't know people were interested, but I'm glad to share. So I'm still waitlisted at 4 schools currently, based on how waitlists seem to be right now and the likely chance that I won't get into them, which is fine. I will be going to Loyola Law School down in downtown LA, which is where I'm from, LA area. So excited to be back here. Great school, great scholarships, great opportunities. So I'm excited to hopefully practice in LA.
Yay, congratulations. This is all super, super exciting. So the first question that we have for you is, when did you start studying for the LSAT and when did you take the LSAT your first and your second time?
So good question. I started studying my junior year over, I think second semester in the spring, which was like 2019 early. I started studying and that was a mistake. I started during the school year, which I wish I hadn't, but I was trying to study for 3 months. So like February, March, and then I'd end up taking it in July, which is when I first took it, July 2019, when they first transitioned from paper to digital. So that was like the first transition. I took that, but then realized that I didn't study well. I didn't study properly. I was going through some personal things too. And so I ended up getting my score back and deciding to study all throughout the fall semester of my senior year. And I took it November 23rd or 25th, like right before Thanksgiving actually. And then that was the second time I took it.
So would you recommend taking the LSAT multiple times? Do you think there was any advantages in doing this?
I definitely would recommend. It doesn't hurt if you ask multiple people on YouTube that give law school advice, counselors, etc. They typically tell you that, taking it 2 to 3 times, even more, is honestly fine. By all means, if you have the opportunity, take it, see what you get. But I definitely wouldn't take it unless you feel prepared. But the beauty of having the opportunities to do it multiple times is if you do end up messing up, if you had a bad test day, if something happened, like you can take it again, and law schools tell you, and I think they're true to their word, that they consider only the highest score. So don't even worry about the averaging stuff or whatnot. The highest score is all that matters. So might as well.
I agree. I think taking the LSAT multiple times, I was under the impression my first time taking it that it was going to be my only time taking the LSAT. And I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself and oh, this is a one and done kind of thing. I'm going to study and it's going to be over. But I think getting over that misconception that it's okay to take it multiple times, then I think you can learn how to study better, because I think after my first time taking it, I definitely learned oh, I really screwed up studying my first time and I did not study correctly or as well as I should have to get the score that I would want. So the next question is, Kenny, how did you study for the LSAT? Are there any books or programs that you recommend?
So yeah, I mean, I learned a lot through the experience of what I would do again and what I wouldn't do. I started with Blueprint. So Blueprint was one of the companies that provides the LSAT like kind of test prep, and I did a one-on-one kind of tutoring sessions with them because although it was more expensive, I thought it'd be worth it. But turns out that it was way too fast-paced, not enough time. I didn't learn the basics well enough, so that was a negative. I ended up, after just getting the PowerScore Bibles, taking a look at Mike Kim's LSAT trainer and looking up like free tutorials on like 7Sage, like on YouTube, about logic games explanations, and anyone who had explanations about the questions, I would kind of look on those blog forums and posts. And ultimately, I just ended up using those books. But I also reached out to a guy on YouTube, LSAT Unplugged, Steve Schwartz, kind of like a mentor, like kind of tutor, big help, and I worked with him, so that helped as well.
I totally agree with Kenny. I think one of the big mistakes that I had from my first time studying and then getting a score and then now restudying to take this test was that I feel like I didn't put a lot of time into going over both my right answers and my wrong answers. And that's something that I'm trying to focus more on now, even though it's so freaking time consuming, but it's just something that you have to sacrifice and you have to do, because if you don't really understand why your right answers are right, but also why your wrong answers are wrong and how you can get the wrong answers to be right quickly, then I think that was something that I wasn't spending enough time doing my first time studying for the LSAT. And similarly to Kenny, I used the PowerScore Bible books and just read through those, did the practice problems, and then did like full-length practice tests as well. But I was sort of not really good about the timing of that because I would always get so anxious and then I would just like, oh, give myself more time or like stop the clock when I was getting nervous. And I feel like that's definitely not a good way to study at all. And now with the LSAT being online, like there is no getting extra time or anything because literally the timer is counting down on the page. You can't pause your test whenever, you just have to do it. And I feel like those are two of the big problems that I had my first time studying just with books. And so this second time going around, I'm trying to use 7Sage. It's like an online resource that you pay for monthly. And I think this resource was a lot cheaper than a lot of other resources that I've seen online. So that is why I chose this one. And I will definitely probably do a video after I take the LSAT again on like how I studied and everything after I get a second score. So the next question is, how many hours did you study per day? Any recommendations?
I genuinely went through so many different like study schedules, programs. I like went back and forth, which is like one of the cons I did is like I didn't commit to something. But eventually what I found was best was I studied, probably like, I mean, number wise it varied, but I'd give you an idea of like I studied during school. So I still had classes, but I only had like 2 classes. So assuming that you have most of your time free, a good study schedule, and I got recommended this by Steve Schwartz as well, is you wake up at a decent time, maybe like 9, 8:30, whenever works for you. And like that first hour, hour and a half in the morning, you're not ready to like study, take a test, whatever. So like work out, eat a good breakfast, take a walk, exercise, do whatever is good for you. And then think of it as like a work day, from maybe 10 to 12 or like 9 to 12, do that 3-hour block and like take some small breaks in between. Typically I would work on like drilling questions, drilling specific logic games, like things like that. And then I'd have a lunch break, of course. And then maybe from like, let's say 1 o'clock till 4 or 5, I'd do some sections or whatnot. And then I'd be done by 5 and I wouldn't touch it after because I had other schoolwork. I wanted to see some people. I wanted to have my time not be totally spent doing that. And I think like the number one thing I can say is that like balance is key. I myself and other friends personally have burned out through the process. And like people say about like a sustainable diet, you have to find the diet that makes it sustainable for you. And there's no point in going hardcore studying like 12, 14 hours a day when you're going to give up in a week. Find that balance. Treating it like a work day almost helped, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely feel like studying, especially because both of us did study for the test during the school year, but also in the summer where we had more free time. I feel like studying while you're also working or doing classes definitely is a lot more difficult because you do have to time manage better. And I agree, I feel like you do have to find a schedule that works for you, because if you're going to study 12 hours a day or some outrageously large number and you're not actually studying well, then I feel like you're just wasting your time, rather than if you did like 4 to 6 hours of really focused actually studying and learning, then I feel like that would be a lot more productive than just trying to get through a ton of work.
If you're watching this and you're a working professional already, or like you have jobs or you have commitments like that you can't negotiate with, like you got to find time. And studying effectively is key, but kind of along the lines of when we were talking about how did you study and what was most effective, like eventually you'll get to the point where you do in fact have to dedicate a few hours within the day to take practice tests. And then the other days where you're not taking practice tests, you're reviewing why you got questions right, why you got them wrong, like Rachel said. That is going to be the biggest growth. And I swear it's like, it's daunting. It's scary to even be able to get to practice time tests. But like once you get there, it's exponential growth and it'll happen. Like I swear, I debated taking the LSAT the third time, but this test gave me so much like personal anxiety and stress that 2 was enough for me. But you just got to have faith. It'll happen. It's a hard test.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Next question is, do you think that being a legal studies major in college or doing a liberal arts major helped you take the LSAT?
Good question. I know a lot of people think, oh, do I have to be political science or like legal studies or things like that? No. I know people personally who were like math, computer science, biology. Those were the ones who like kicked ass like on the test. Like more than, let's say, like us typical legal studies majors. Maybe that's just my small sample size. Doesn't matter what major you are. The LSAT is all about critical thinking and logical reasoning and analytical, thought processes and stuff. So as long as you can do that, and it's definitely learnable, but as long as you can stay committed to mastering that, any major can do it, 100%.
Yeah, it's all learnable, I think.
It's all learnable, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, what can a current college student who is interested in pre-law or going to law school do to prepare in high school and college?
So high school, indirectly, I didn't prepare for it knowing that I want to be in law school, but I remember doing like an internship at like City Hall. Everything is somewhat related to law, is what I'm trying to point at. And anything can kind of prepare you. But specifically, if you want interning at like firms, if they want even just simple paperwork done or like administrative stuff, joining legal associations, like for example, Berkeley, I know we had a few, getting involved in like journals and like news writing places, things like that. Like everything is somewhat law related, and that can really help you prepare. But also as simple as like, if you're not a legal studies major, like if you're not a major that's in those kind of law related classes, audit the class, maybe get some notes from a friend who's in it and just check it out. Talk to a professor, like go ask them. Like as cliche as those things sound, like those really can help you gauge your interest. There's one thing that anyone can say, like, is that you want to go into law school knowing you want to go, because it's not worth the financial commitment and the stress and personally the sacrifices that I've already had to make myself for law school. Like it's not worth it if you're not like 100% down to go. So yeah, I would definitely be interested first.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've had a lot of legal studies professors say that law school is the worst 3 years of your life. And so if it's not something you 100% want to do, then you're going to struggle throughout the whole thing.
The law has and always will be the way that people solve disputes in a sense. So if you want to be a difference maker within your community, if you want to find a way to make tangible change, then law school and going to become a lawyer is definitely a route you should take.
So the next question is, how can students ask for letters of recommendation?
I didn't get that 170 LSAT score, whatever, that was going to make it easy for me. I definitely had a good score, but like
your score is so good, Kenny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you. I mean, definitely took a lot of like work, but I mean, still, like if you're not realistically, if you're not in the 170 or higher, like T14s, for example, as all of you know, is definitely hard, and like it's more of like a holistic approach and you need to show more about yourself. But with letters of rec, I felt that was a place I could really give some advice because it was easier for me because throughout college, like I mentioned in Rachel's other video I was in, I always sat in the front and I always had an easy way, throughout my whole life, connecting with professors. I'm kind of like an old soul and like a young body in a sense where like I just kind of relate more to professors who are, have been in their field. And so bonding with them, going to office hours for sure, like just asking questions, needing help, that helps as well. Keeping in constant contact. And for those of you who have graduated or have been away from academia for a while, try to reach out again and see if you can maybe connect, or if worst comes to worst, get letters of rec from your employers. That's also totally fine. But overall, the advice would be just to, if you have the time now, is to consistently reach out to your professors, keep in good contact, show them that you really care about the material, and do good work, because a lot of times the professors are going to write letters of rec based on your performance in class, providing quality work, showing that you cared. And even if you didn't get that A or whatever, like showing that you really cared about the material and you were interested in asking questions can honestly make a huge difference in how they write it. I would definitely ask in person, not email if possible, to say, hey, can I get that letter of rec? Would you write me a good one? You don't want them to write a bad one or a generic one. And just having a genuine conversation. Professors in their job title, and they've told me, like, when I said, oh, I hope I'm not a burden, like professors like, Kenny, it's okay. It's part of my job title. Thank you for, reaching out to me and stuff. Like, I would be glad to do it. So you'd be surprised at how not stressful it can be.
Awesome advice. Yeah, no, that's really good. The next question is, how many law schools did you apply to? Were any early action? I know that law schools have rolling decisions, so can you just explain all of that process?
Yeah, so I'm actually still kind of in this cycle because I'm waiting on a couple waitlist schools. So I applied a little late. As I said earlier, I took the test in July of 2019, thinking I would apply like in October, which is like early. And rolling decisions, earlier the better. That's a industry standard, and like it's becoming less and less of a thing. Definitely, I would recommend trying to apply as early as possible. Typically, they open up in late September, early October. But I ended up applying to, I think, 13 schools, which is a lot of money. You can get fee waivers for sure, but I applied to 13. I had to retake the test, so I ended up getting my final score I liked in November. But during that time in the semester, I was also working on my personal statement and letters of rec, which was very stressful. But I ultimately submitted all my apps. The first wave, I submitted them in January 7th of 2020. And then I decided to add 4 more schools on January 31st because I thought, hey, might as well give it a shot. I didn't apply any early action, nothing like that. And the earliest I heard was from UC Hastings in literally 2 weeks after I applied. It was like so fast. And the latest I heard back was from Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt let me know I was waitlisted, towards like April or May. So it can really vary. I would try to recommend like finding designated times to work on your personal statement, your letters of rec, etc. Get that done earlier perhaps, because you want to focus everything on the LSAT score and have everything else ready. Because after the LSAT score, if you don't have the other stuff needed, then you can't apply.
So the last question, Kenny, is how did you go about writing your application essays?
I recommend getting a head start on that, but underrated, like writing your application essay is one of like the most important aspects of your application, like honestly, but it could also be the most stressful for some people because it's easy to say, oh, I want to go into law. But then schools are going to ask you, but why? Like, why law school? And like that 3-word question can like break your head. Like, oh my gosh, why? So I went about brainstorming a bunch of ideas about what impacts has certain things happen in my life. Eventually, I came up with a topic that I'd be happy to share personally with people. I wouldn't say I would want to share it over like a public thing like this, but eventually I found something I was really passionate about, and I found why I really wanted to. And luckily, I had a connection to someone who is really good at writing essays and helps others. So we kind of just went back and forth with drafts and things like that. And there's also supplemental essays for some schools, like they ask you why specifically their school. For the main application essay, it's all about brainstorming and it's all about multiple drafts. Like I remember one of our professors, like Professor Katiel, in our class when we first met, she was always talking about your idea, like startup ideas pivot. And same with your application essays. Like you might start with one idea, but you might pivot to something else. Definitely just look deep within yourself and figure out what's your passion. And maybe doing that process will teach you, hey, I really want to go to law school. Or maybe it'll teach you, hey, like, am I in it for the right reasons? I don't know. That's a really, really important part of the application. And I think that's why I got waitlisted at some schools that I might have gotten denied at if I hadn't had a good application essay. So
Yeah, so that's all some really, really great advice, Kenny. Just to round things out, is there any final words or anything that you want to say to the viewers watching?
first of all, everyone, thank you for consistently supporting Rachel. I've seen her channel grow substantially, and it's really cool. You're almost at 5,000 now, which is like, honestly, that's a lot of people. Like, if, people think about it, like I don't even know 5,000 people. Like, I talked to like 10. Keep supporting her. If you guys find her content valuable, obviously share the word, spread it, and everything. But final remarks with regards to this topic: start early if you can. It's a marathon, so if you feel like you're struggling, realize that it's up and down and that you'll eventually get there, but it's a long process. Reach out to people who are in law school. That was very helpful. I have a few upperclassmen that are 2Ls now that really helped me. And most importantly, like, be sure you want to go into it. As cliche as everything I'm saying, and like I hate to be the cliche guy, like cliches are true because they're reality. Like it is true. You need to know why you want to go to law school. You need to know that you know what it takes and the sacrifices you have to make. And there's no better profession than the law, I think, besides medicine, I think. But yeah, law I think is a great place to enter.
Yay, Kenny. No, yeah. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I think this is all very, very valuable advice. And I hope for you all watching that you all are taking something away from this. And I know, Kenny, that I'm really excited to see what you'll be doing in the future. And I know that you'll be successful at law school, wherever you end up. But yeah, so this was the end of the video. Definitely let us know if you have any questions down below, and Kenny or I could have a tackle and answer your questions. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel, and I post every Wednesday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So definitely check back then. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Yeah, everyone. Bye bye.